Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at what happens to government contracts when a new administration comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Like when political priorities shift and
Yeah.
contractors kind of have to brace for
It's like
impact.
an earthquake, but instead of the ground shaking, it's the whole contracting landscape.
Exactly. And we're going to be using a legal alert from Holland Knight to guide us through all this.
Right.
It's basically a heads up for government contractors from
Okay.
some seriously savvy lawyers. They're flagging some key disruption tactics that can really impact your business.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that these tactics that we're going to talk about today, while this alert focuses on the Trump administration's actions, they're relevant no matter who's in charge.
Right.
A new administration often equals a change in priorities, and that can send shockwaves through the contracting world.
So this isn't just ancient history. It's a playbook for navigating the uncertainties of government contracting anytime any administration.
Exactly. The Trump administration's focus on reviewing existing contracts and spending definitely threw some contractors off balance.
Yeah.
It's not unusual, but you need to be ready.
And one of the biggest ripple effects of that uncertainty, delays.
Oh, yeah.
The alert highlights how new contract awards were frozen. And even options on existing contracts were just left hanging.
Right.
What does that mean for contractors in practical terms?
Well, imagine you've poured your heart and soul into a proposal, maybe even years of work.
Right.
And you finally get that notification that you won the award, and then crickets.
Yeah.
No contract, no start date, just radio silence.
Ouch. That has to be so demoralizing.
Yeah.
Not to mention financially stressful.
Yeah.
So what can you do when you're stuck in contract limbo?
Documentation is key. You have to keep meticulous records of all communication, or lack thereof, with the agency. Think of it as building your legal fortress. Brick by bureaucratic brick.
Okay, so document everything. Got it. Now, I know most people associate stop work orders with construction projects.
Oh.
But the alert points out that there's another type of disruption contractors might face. Suspension of work orders.
Right.
Are these basically the same thing?
Not quite. A stop work order is a complete shutdown, like hitting a brick wall.
Okay.
A suspension of work order is more like hitting the pause button. It could be for various reasons, like needing to clarify the scope of the work or address an unforeseen issue.
So it's not a total stop,
Yeah.
but still a major disruption.
Yeah.
Can contractors recover any costs during a suspension?
Potentially, yes. But the delay has to be unreasonable, meaning it's the government's fault, not the contractors.
Right.
And there are specific contract clauses that can affect cost recovery, so you need to understand those nuances.
Oh, the fine print strikes again. Documentation seems to be the recurring theme here.
Absolutely. Especially if you're going to try to recover costs for unreasonable delays, you need a clear paper trail showing the impact on your schedule and expenses.
Oh. Okay, now let's talk about those full stop disruptions. The dreaded stop work orders.
Okay.
What are the immediate steps a contractor should take if they get one of these?
Well, first, compliance is paramount. You stop work immediately, but just as important is understanding why the order was issued.
Right.
The alert suggests setting up a dedicated account to track all start work-related costs.
Okay.
This helps you separate those expenses and potentially recover them later.
So it's like creating a financial paper trail, specifically for that disruption, making it easier to justify those costs down the line. Smart.
Exactly. The alert even shares an example of Raytheon STX Corp successfully recovering costs after a stop work order.
Really?
They kept their workforce ready to resume work as soon as the order was lifted. And the courts recognized that preparedness as a legitimate cost.
Wow. So even in a standstill, you can still incur costs that might be recoverable.
Yeah.
It seems like government contracting is a bit of a legal minefield, with potential disruptions lurking around every corner.
It can definitely be challenging.
Yeah.
But that's why we're here, to equip you with the knowledge you need to navigate those challenges. And there's another big one we need to discuss. One that might make contractors especially nervous. Termination for convenience.
Oh boy. That does not sound good. Does that mean the government can just end a contract whenever they feel like it? For any reason?
Well, essentially, yes. They have broad authority to terminate a contract for its convenience. They might not even need a specific reason.
Hold on. There has to be some protection for contractors, right? You can't just pour your resources into a project and then have the rug pulled out from under you with no recourse.
You're absolutely right. There are protections in place.
Okay.
The alert clarifies that in a termination for convenience situation, you're entitled to recover certain costs.
Okay.
This includes payment for the work you've already done, costs associated with winding down operations, and even a reasonable profit.
Okay, so it's not a total loss,
Yeah.
but still a massive disruption. I can see why Holland and Knight felt compelled to issue this legal warning, but they're not done yet, right? I mean, there are other types of disruptions that might not be as obvious.
You're picking up on the nuances. That's great. You're right. The alert also sheds light on those less formal but equally impactful disruptions that might not come with a big flashing warning sign.
Right.
And those are especially tricky to handle.
So we've covered those big official disruptions like stop work orders, but what about those less formal ones? The ones that might not come with a formal notice, but can still throw a wrench in the works?
Well, you're talking about what the alert calls de facto disruptions. It's a bit like a stealth attack on your contract.
De facto disruptions.
Mm.
Okay, give me an example, because that sounds a bit sneaky.
Imagine you're working on a project, everything is moving along smoothly, and suddenly the key personnel at the agency become unavailable. Maybe they've been reassigned or put on leave, or their email accounts have been suspended.
So no formal notice, no official order, but your work grinds to a halt anyway, because you can't get the information or approvals you need. That's frustrating.
Exactly. These de facto disruptions might not have a specific clause in the contract or a fancy legal name, but they can be just as disruptive as a formal stop work order.
It sounds like clear communication and documentation become even more critical in these situations.
You're spot on. The alert emphasizes that even when the government is silent, you need to be proactive.
Right.
Keep meticulous records, stay in constant contact with your contracting officer, and demonstrate your efforts to comply with the contract. It's all about building a strong paper trail just in case you need to prove that you were ready and willing to perform, but were hindered by these unofficial roadblocks.
It's almost like you have to anticipate potential problems before they even arise.
That's the mindset you need to cultivate in government contracting. Always be thinking one step ahead, anticipating those what-ifs.
Okay, so let's say we've navigated those de facto disruptions. We've documented everything, kept the lines of communication open. But what about getting paid? I can only imagine how all of these disruptions, official or unofficial, can lead to some major invoice headaches.
You're absolutely right. Government disruptions can definitely cause delays in invoice processing. But here's the catch. You still need to submit your invoices on time, even if you suspect they'll get stuck in a bureaucratic black hole.
Really? Even if you know it's likely to be delayed. Why?
Because it's all about following the terms of the contract and protecting your rights.
Okay.
If you don't submit those invoices according to the schedule, you could jeopardize your ability to get paid later.
That makes sense. So even when things are chaotic, you have to stick to the procedures. But what happens when those payments are delayed? Is there any recourse for contractors?
That's where a little something called the Prompt Payment Act comes in. Think of it as a contractor's best friend when it comes to battling late payments.
The Prompt Payment Act. Okay, remind me what that is?
It basically requires the government to pay interest on invoices that are more than 30 days overdue.
Oh, okay.
So there's a financial incentive for them to process those payments on time.
So it puts a little pressure on the government to keep things moving. What's the interest rate? Is it substantial enough to make a difference?
Well, at the time the alert was published, the interest rate was 4.625%.
Okay.
It might not sound like a huge number, but remember, we're talking about government contracts. Those can be pretty substantial amounts, so even a small percentage can add up quickly.
Wow. So those interest charges can really make a dent in the government's wallet if they drag their feet on payments. It sounds like it's essential for contractors to be familiar with the Prompt Payment Act and not be afraid to invoke it if needed.
Absolutely. Knowing your rights is crucial in government contracting.
Yeah.
The Holland Knight alert goes even further, providing some specific advice for contractors facing these kinds of payment disruptions. Want to hear it?
You bet. Give me the Cliff Notes version of those legal eagle recommendations.
All right, here's the gist. Understand your contract inside and out. Make sure you're clear on the payment terms and any clauses related to delays or disruptions. Keep meticulous records of all invoices and payment correspondence. If payments are delayed, don't hesitate to follow up with your contracting officer. And if all else fails, don't be afraid to seek legal advice. It's always better to be safe than sorry when it comes to getting paid.
Okay, so we've talked about those big official disruptions like stop work orders and the less obvious de facto disruptions. We've also touched on the importance of documentation communication and understanding those key contract clauses, especially when it comes to getting paid on time. But there's one thing that keeps coming back to me. The alert we're discussing focuses on the actions of one specific administration. Are these disruptions unique to that particular time period? Or are they just a fact of life in government contracting, no matter who's in charge?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of why this deep dive is so valuable. The lessons we're extracting from this Holland and Knight alert are timeless because they reflect the inherent nature of government contracting. Think of it this way. Change is the only constant in government contracting. Each new administration brings its own set of priorities, its own agenda,
Oh,
and
yeah.
those shifts in focus can ripple through the entire federal contracting system.
So it's not about one particular administration. It's about the nature of government itself.
Precisely. It's the ebb and flow of political power, the changing winds of policy, and the inherent complexities of working within a massive bureaucratic system.
Okay, so if disruptions are practically inevitable, how can you, as a contractor, possibly prepare for the unknown?
That's where the brilliance of this Holland and Knight alert really shines. It's not just about reacting to specific events. It's about developing a mindset, a proactive approach to risk management that will serve you well, no matter what curveballs come your way.
So instead of being caught off guard, contractors should be thinking about these potential disruptions from day one.
Absolutely. Build those what-if scenarios into your bid process.
Yeah.
Factor in the possibility of delays, funding changes, even terminations. It's like building a buffer, a cushion of flexibility into your business plan.
And don't forget about those less obvious disruptions. Those personnel changes, facility closures, those bureaucratic snafus that can really throw a wrench in the works.
Right. Anticipate those as well. You need to be prepared for a whole spectrum of disruptions, from those formal stop work orders to those subtle shifts in agency priorities.
So basically, the key takeaway is to assume something will go wrong and have a plan in place to deal with it.
You got it. That's the secret sauce for success in government contracting. Be informed, be flexible, be proactive.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the intricacies of government contracting. It's clearly not just about fulfilling the scope of work. It's about navigating a constantly shifting landscape, a complex dance between fulfilling your contractual obligations and adapting to those inevitable disruptions.
You nailed it. It's a unique world for sure. But for those who are prepared, for those who embrace that adaptability, it can be an incredibly rewarding one.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the unpredictable world of federal procurement, what's that final thought-provoking nugget you want to leave our listeners with?
Here's something to ponder as you move forward in the world of government contracts. Don't just react, anticipate. Don't just comply. Strategize. And don't just hope for the best. Prepare for the unexpected.
Those are words to live by in any business, really,
Mhm.
but especially in government contracting. So to all our listeners out there who are navigating this complex world, stay informed, stay agile, and as always, never stop learning. Until next time.